So what's better? What puts you in a better position? Being a content creator, so like a video maker, music maker online and having a following online, or having a local following in real life?
Online.
Or, why?
I don't know. More variety. And you can do whatever you want.
More variety. All we do is make Oblivion videos.
Well,
What do you mean more variety?
in terms of the audience,
It's more specified, right? Like,
Right.
you can be into a more specific thing. Like, there are fewer
yeah.
Oblivion fanatics in Phoenix, Arizona than there are on the internet. Any cons?
Online to being online? I don't know. I mean, if what you do entails anything in the real world, then that could be a problem. Like if you are a musician online and you're well known online, but you want to play a live show, you might not get that many people. Like there's this one guy. There's one guy who does videos about movies. Austin something. I'll link it in the comments, I guess. He's really well known on YouTube, and he has some video where I guess he tried to hold a
I saw
Yeah.
that. That was in my recommended. Just
yeah,
like
it's
a
been on
few-
my recommended forever. I haven't
Yeah.
watched it yet, but like the title says it all. You know, he tried to hold some seminar about filmmaking, and no one showed up. So there you go. Like, and the video has millions of views.
But at the same time, if you build a local, it could go the other way around, right? You could build a really strong local audience. Like if you're a local band and you're playing like the same 2 or 3 venues all the time.
Yeah.
And like I know I was friends with a guy who did this kind of thing. Bye bye Apple Corps. And he like built a really strong local following, and sometimes if you put stuff online, it's like you spend all this time and energy making a local following and like putting it online. You're like, oh cool, people like it, so now people will like it online. Put it on there and it gets no traction.
Right.
Like it could be the same. That's the same thing, but in reverse, right?
Yeah, there is a well-known local band here that a lot of my friends like big fans of, and they talk about them like they're, you know, Nirvana or something, like everybody knows. But yeah, I looked up their YouTube channel and they don't have nearly as many views as even the stuff on like my side channels.
I've seen that
Yeah.
a lot actually. Yeah, and I'm not that involved. I'm not involved in local music, and I don't know that much about it. I was in a mediocre band with my friends like
It was a
10
great
years
band.
ago.
It was a great band.
Vox Populi. I'll see if I can find some old footage. Or
Vox Populi. Everyone's gonna associate it with BioShock Infinite now.
Was that in Biopop?
There's like a rebellion called Vox Populi.
I got it from the V for Vendetta speech.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Well, BioShock Infinite. That's just as good. And but so like I have a little bit of experience with that, and like I can say that I think, and I'm also I'm speaking from no experience here because I'm not a successful real life musician, and I'm not a successful online like music maker composer guy, so I have no experience with this, but I think I prefer like just making music and putting it online to like building clout and like making connections in the local scene and like being good with all the right people and shit like that. Like that's a whole side job that's part of the getting big as a local band job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just an extra thing to do.
Yeah. I think a lot of that is just like your personal, like who you are. I'm not like box myself in for the whole day introvert, but I am more introverted than extroverted. Like, you know, when I go to big get-togethers or, you know, just giant parties in general, anything where there's too many people that I don't know, I just get like tired and want to go home. So, that being said, I don't really like live music either because there's a lot of that, obviously.
Yeah.
But then, you know,
it gives people like you an out. Basically. Yeah.
There are people who thrive off of that, though. They love, you know, being around people and mingling and stuff, so they love playing live shows, which is cool. But yeah, I'd rather just do it in my room or with like a tight group of people that I know well. And yeah, I mean, recording obviously gives you more control over everything, which is nice, which is important for us. We like to have that.
Yeah.
And most people like to be seen, and I think most people in the music industry specifically are geared towards performance. There was actually another teacher at work was talking to a new student, and she said, what did she say? She said, "We don't become musicians so we can just play for ourselves in our bedroom or something. That's what she said.
Oh,
but
interesting.
I kind of took offense to that. I was like, actually, yeah, that's exactly what,
That's like what I use most of my musical talent to doing. And me too, actually. Yeah. Like I've got my keyboard in my bedroom. I do my music stuff that I have up on this channel.
Yeah, and that's a really important thing to me. I know, like, well, and we record it so other people do hear it. I think that
didn't even occur to her. She was just like, it sounds like in her head it was just like live versus at home. Like she didn't even think, oh, there's like this whole SoundCloud empire now.
Yeah. Obviously there are different, modes and mediums which you can show it to people through. But there's people like to see live stuff because it's like watching a juggling act or something. They want to see if you can do it without screwing up. And they like that element of it, seeing it live.
There's something. I think there's something to that, but there's also just like seeing the guy, like or the girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like someone whose voice you've heard or whose music you've heard this whole time, and like you've drawn. It's a kind of intimacy, like hearing someone's music and connecting with it, and then seeing them like in person, even if the show sucks, is like worth it to a lot of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've had that experience too with that local band, like Try Me Bicycle.
Try Me Bicycle is great.
Yeah.
They're from Tucson, right?
Yeah. I was super excited. They had the little show. It was nothing big. It was like a park and like random bands played. I feel like me and Justin are probably their biggest fans. But I was super pumped. I met all of them. I shook all their hands. I bought like a sweatshirt or whatever.
Yeah, you see.
But
like I'm sure the recorded stuff was better than their live.
Yeah. So the show was like really bad.
Right.
But I mean,
oh no.
Their instrumentation is like pianos and strings and everything, and they couldn't have that. And I totally get it because it was like a small venue. They don't want to lug all that stuff over, but they suffered for it. And it was pretty forgettable. But yeah, it was still really cool to see the guy that I like idolized.
Like the value in the experience was seeing these guys that you heard have been listening to the whole time.
Yeah, and the other thing that we talk about sometimes is how we don't like that specifically we don't like to have to mingle with other musicians and stuff. We want to just do what we want to do.
Yeah.
We don't want to have that like team player moral support for all the other bands around us.
Yeah, we don't hate people and but I know there's a difference. Like I like being with people. I like hanging out with people. I'm a little more like extroverted, I guess, than Emmett, in that like I like hanging out with like large groups of friends and stuff, and I feel comfortable at parties even if there's a bunch of people I don't know. I actually feel more comfortable that way because it's just like I can kind of slink.
Yeah.
I'm just there and like I blend in. With my Nostromo cap. I love this. Emmett got this for me. We were watching Alien, and he literally, I didn't know what he did. I pointed to the cap. I was like, "There's a cool cap on the guy who dies like immediately, the first guy who dies." And he like went away to his room. And he didn't say anything. He came back and he ordered it on Amazon. He got me the cap. Nicest brother. Oh my god.
I love. If you guys probably don't know because I always wear the same Hawaiian shirt, but like half of my wardrobe is like Alien T-shirts and stuff. So I'm a huge fan of like just the aesthetic. So
it's great. The opening shots of Alien, like I was just telling Emmett, the first like 6 odd minutes is some of the best, most like pleasing to look at scene setting I've ever seen. Yeah. Like it's just the interior of the ship. It looks so nice. It looks believable. And it looks futuristic but retro at the same time.
Yeah.
I love the inside of the ship, and Alien looks so good.
I just saw that IGN just tweeted that there might be a new Alien game announcement in the next like gaming whatever thing. So I'm really excited for that. It's called like Alien Blackout, I think.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully it's really good.
Alien Isolation is fantastic.
So good.
I only played a little bit of it. I watched him play a lot.
Played it like 5 times.
Scary as hell. I forget where we were.
We were talking about
socializing with bands and shit. Yeah, I mean, like, the people are cool or whatever, but, like, that's not, like, what I'm there for. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels like an extra task, and it feels like you have to be artificial sometimes.
Totally.
Like, if there's a band you don't like, you have to be like, oh, great set, and, like, how many times are you going to say that, you know? Like, how many... Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they all have to sort of, like, blindly pump each other up and talk about how the band that just played was amazing, everyone
everyone has to do that, even though, like, number one, that's just, like, so statistically unlikely that that's the case, that you're really that pumped. Well, it just so happens to be everyone in my vicinity who's playing at the same venue, I love all their stuff. It sounds nothing like mine. It doesn't sound like anything else I listen to, but, dude, it's great. You can't, I can't, like, pull that off. I can't convince myself to, like, put that up. You know what I mean? But there are some local bands that I love, but, like, I don't know. I can't pretend to like the ones... It's just a weird dynamic.
It really
is. it forces you into a sort of falsehood, a sort of phoniness.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. Some people are cool with it. I don't like look down on anyone who plays along. I think it's a craft in itself, and I don't look down on anyone who plays along with it at all. I just don't like want to do that. I guess I don't want to like be put in that position.
Yeah, and it's not that like we're pessimistic. It's just that I can't. Like, you wouldn't do that with movies. Like, you see 3 movies in a row, you wouldn't be like, they're all so good.
Right.
You know, you're like, this one was pretty good, that one kind of sucked, you know?
I'm sure for local filmmakers it's the same.
Yeah. That's I don't want to do that. I don't even want to, like, dive into that mindset of, like, everything's great. I mean, it's not, I don't have to say, like, hey, your music sucked, but I just don't want to have to say anything at all, you know?
Yeah, and the phrase... What'd you think of it?
Yeah, exactly.
And the phrase is support local music, right? Like support local.
Like it's automatically good.
Yeah, because it's local, it's good.
A lot of it's not,
which is not
good.
The case. Yeah.
Some of it's great and is underrated, and some of it is just really bad, and that's why it's still local.
Yeah.
You know?
One great band that I was able to see, like, every once in a while you get the rare opportunity to like see something before it gets big and like be a part of it. It's very rare. And one with me, 10 or 11 years ago, I was at an Andrew Jackson Jihad show in the trunk space in Phoenix.
Oh, really?
And yeah, do you know how they got big and everything? Yeah, like I looked them up on YouTube once, and like their album, the one with the bunny rabbit on it, had like over 1 million views, and I was like, what, these guys took off. Just a minute ago, the bassist was working at a Zia record store like miles away from my house, and like you could talk to him and everything, and the you know, they were playing at like this little venue. It was like me and a bunch of other people crowded in there for the album release party.
Space. Yeah, that place sucks.
That place is tiny.
Like sweating in 2 minutes.
I don't even know if it's still open. It's probably been in debt for the last 5 years. But dude, yeah, they blew up, and it was super cool to see, because it's like a band that I really liked and enjoyed, and
cool.
they're just like fun, like funky folk pop with like sort of clever Bright Eyes style lyrics.
Okay.
But they're like joyful and pessimistic at the same time, and it was just a fun show, and like all of a sudden they were like really big, and I was like, oh, this is awesome, you know, like I was so, it's cool to see that happen and like be happy for someone when they take off.
Yeah, that is interesting. I'm trying to, I mean, YouTube is all online, so that wouldn't even apply.
What were you thinking of, like filmmaking or?
Yeah, I was just trying to think in general. Yeah, filmmaking could be one of them. But I feel like filmmaking, you always eventually come to the point where, you know, if you are successful, something is mass produced, and then you are well known pretty much everywhere. But and then there's the opposite thing that can happen where, you know, like there's bands that have sprouted in like Los Angeles, and then they'll be really big in Japan for like no reason, and like movies that were filmed in, you know, like Canada, and then they're really popular in you know, Russia or something. There's all
I don't
this
know
weird...
how that happens.
Yeah, I don't know how that happens either, but it happens a lot. Yeah, I don't really get it.
It's like something, I think filmmakers or music, you know, or like composers or whatever, they make something for one reason, and for an entirely unrelated reason it gets big, like it has some sort of cultural significance to Japan or Russia, you know what I mean? Like that they didn't even see in it. Unless, maybe sometimes it's deliberate, I don't know. Like with, I don't know how big the Magnificent Seven is in Japan, but it's like deliberately based on the Seven Samurai, and that would be not surprising to me if that were like a popular film in Japan for that reason.
That's weird. I feel like usually it's a fluky thing, like no one really saw it coming. It's just kind of, organic, the way it unfolds. But so that would be a case of like they put their stuff online, obviously. You know, they were mass producing themselves. They're trying to get, you know, online and everywhere for the world to hear, and then someone in Japan or whatever heard it, and they showed it to all their friends.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how it works.
Well,
but
stuff sprouted up. Stuff like that can sprout up and has sprouted up before the internet. I read. I'll link it if I can find it again. Very cool short article with photographs about the first anime convention in the United States in like a basement of a hotel in Brooklyn in like the early 1980s. It was weird, man. Like it was uncanny looking. These people, so like nerdy outcasts, like unmistakably like weird geeky people. Nothing was translated, so they had like a bunch of anime, like Urusei Yatsura or whatever, that really early. I think I have like a memory of my cousin wearing a shirt from that anime. Like really early stuff, like manga all laid out on the table, and they were just like desperate to get their hands on anything that they could because like the shipping costs from Japan and like the low market for it in the United States and everything.
Wow.
And they had a little tube television on a stand that they were all seated watching on, and this woman was standing next to it like explaining what was happening. But there was nothing was online, and it was produced for a Japanese market, but it took off, and this was before Akira. This was because Akira was what, 1988 or something.
Yeah.
So this was before it started to like take off like this in the United States, and it was just this like small, obsessed, dedicated, like the first weeaboos, the first like anime people.
Wow, that's frightening.
It is.
That's very cool though. Yeah, and I wonder how that started. Who was the first guy to like come across an anime?
Right? Like something must have happened, and like some weirdo told his friend, and it must have been serious. Yeah, because I felt like a weirdo watching Neon Genesis Evangelion in like 8th grade or whatever. I was like the only one.
Yeah.
So think about it, like 20 years earlier must have been even worse.
But at least, I mean, Pokemon was popular among everyone and stuff. Is it that big a shift?
That's an even better example, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because, that took off without the internet again.
Yeah, that's true.
Through video games, right? Because I don't know if the trading card game came out first or if the video game came out first.
I think the trading card...
I want to say Boy.
Oh, really?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. But, that there was like there was a universal appeal to it, right? Because it wasn't like a specifically Japanese experience to be like a young kid like catching bugs in the forest, which is what that guy who invented Pokemon, that was his background, that was his like basis for Pokemon.
Really?
Yeah, it was like his experience of like going out and exploring the forest outside his house and like catching bugs and stuff, and like being interested in having this like
and then he made him fight in his room.
Yeah, having this wild imagination about I don't know if he was that sick. Having like a wild imagination about like what they could do or what the animals out there are like, and it's like so like that's just such an appealing thing when you're 10, you set off on this journey, that's just cool. So that makes sense why that got popular.
And they have that has an appeal specifically to kids too, because kids always love like, well, obviously like they're like fantasy creatures, but you can like collect them, and they're all these different colors and types and everything.
Children like organizing things.
Yeah.
Because it's how you start to make sense of the like. I was reading something about how important like rule making is. Like how kids are obsessed with like that's against the rules and you can't do that and stuff like that. It's like they're making sense of the world. So like all the organization and like you said the types of Pokemon and stuff, it can appeal to them. I guess in like a simple organizational way. Yeah.
I feel like the Japanese do that a lot. I mean, they have also like Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh, but not even those. Like the Power Rangers, they're like all the same, but like different. They're associated with a different dinosaur and the colors. And then Monster Hunter is almost exactly like Pokemon. Oh. There's these fake monsters and they're categorized with different elements and stuff. Well, they do that kind of thing a lot, I feel like.
The Japanese like taxonomy.
Yeah. And it's fun and it's interesting because it's something that you can like learn about and like dive into. And for some reason, the fact that it's, not real makes it exciting.
Yeah.
For some reason, like real, biology and learning about animals is like not that cool. But like as soon as it's Pokemon, it's like, oh, it's great. Which kind of stupid.
Like people who know the difference between protists and moderns don't know the difference between like psychic and dark type.
Right.
Yeah.
Who cares about protists and moderns? As soon as it's of another world, it's like interesting. And that was the same with me. Like I sucked at like, and I still suck at geography and history and everything. But I knew everything about Star Wars. I like knew the galaxy and where things were in the galaxy.
I remember when you were doing that shit.
I knew all about it, and But I don't know. Especially at that young age, you get so into it. If your mind is just filled with it. There's some small subconscious part of you that thinks it's real or thinks it could be real.
Yeah. No. I remember specifically in the cafeteria talking to friends about. I was saying, and I wasn't thinking about. I was talking about how I'm gonna grow up and become like a biological researcher so that I could augment a tortoise to be like a Blastoise. Specifically that.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna make it have like cannons in its back. And like one of these kids like raised like an ethical concern about it. He's like, do you think that's really, you know? And I was like, I'm just gonna do it, you know?
Right, like you all know they're there in the world, you can go get them.
Yeah, it's like, this is good enough. You know, slap some cannons on it. I'm gonna make a Blastoise.
I think I remember you talking about that. Oh man, yeah, you really want it to be real.
It's because it's attractive because it's like just out of reach.
Yeah.
They're basing everything on real life things like turtles and salamanders and mice and stuff, and it's just like tweaking them to make it just a little more cool and like effective or whatever.
Yeah, that's totally true. Well, I think that's why I have trouble getting into lore nowadays, like Oblivion and stuff. I knew way more about Oblivion when I was really young than I do now, because again, there's like that little kid part of you that, you know, thinks somewhere in the universe it's really happening.
Yeah.
But now, like, I can't get into it. It's not like engaging. I want it to be engaging, but it's not. You know.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Well, do you like world building yourself, right? Like you like imagining. Like I've made like a big. I didn't follow through with it, but I meant to write like this fantasy novel. Like I made this big map, and out of like 6 taped together computer paper sheets, and like I made like the terrain and the ocean. And like I named different places. There's like a swampy region and everything. I like doing stuff like that.
Yeah. Making it is cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think because I'm, I guess, too grounded in reality now. I can't enjoy. Yeah, like getting into Lord of the Rings or whatever, because I know I'm never gonna, you know, set foot on Middle Earth. So like, what's the point?
It's a shame. Yeah. I get it though. I do get it. It becomes less. It becomes like, why am I doing this? Why am I wasting my time? Imagine like, that's why you mentioned Lord of the Rings. That's why like Tolkien is so incredible still. It's like he invented world building in the sense that we use it today.
That's true.
Like before him, there was no like vast imaginary, like altered. You know what I mean? And he invented like all these terms that we use today and we take for granted and everything.
Yeah, it's true. That's like a big thing.
Like I think orcs was his own invention. Yeah. You know. Like and he was like an older man when he invented this stuff.
That's crazy.
He was like a professor of Anglo-Saxon studies or something, and he already knew like 11 Germanic languages and everything. Yeah. So he based the different like races off of, you know, like different historic tribes and stuff. It's just it takes like a good measure of like sort of childlike imagination power to create something like that when you're as old as J.R.R. Tolkien was. Yeah.
And maybe that's the only way you can sort of reproduce that feeling is if you know enough about culture or whatever your world is based on that you can sort of recreate it, you know, in your own means. But yeah, I can't. And even Star Wars, I can't really get into anymore. It's not even like a case of the new movies or whatever. It's just
the new movies don't help.
The new movies don't help at all. Yeah. But yeah, like that was my world when I was growing up.
You guys should have seen his face leaving the screening of Phantom Menace in 1999. Emmett was like, he was like, I remember the big cardboard cutouts of Darth Maul and stuff all over the theater. I think it was the Fashion Square that you worked at.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, and it was just incredible. Like I barely remember seeing it. I remember seeing Pokemon the first movie, which came out the same year, but I barely remember seeing a Phantom Menace.
That's funny.
But I remember Emmett's expression and like our dad was like was like, "Hey, you doing all right?" or something. I swear to God, like it was something like that where he was just like amazed. And yeah, after that he just took off with it and he learned everything about it.
Yeah.
Especially the Mandalorians.
The Mandalorians, I thought were sick as hell.
They really are the cowboys of Star Wars.
Yeah. I had like multiple Boba Fett and Jango Fett toys, and I would like repaint them to make them look like other Mandalorians. Yeah. Then I had all the comics and stuff. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I listened to the Force Cast, which was like the Star Wars podcast. And obviously me and my friends always played, you know, Jedis and lightsabers and stuff.
Speaking of Mandalorian, they should retouch Star Wars Bounty Hunter and release it. I don't know if it's on Steam or something, but I had a hankering. When I saw him playing Red Dead Redemption 2, he's been playing a lot of that recently, I was like, man, I want to play some Bounty Hunter.
Yeah, if they remastered Star Wars Bounty Hunter, that'd be the most amazing thing in the world.
It's such a great game. It's so satisfying.
And I'm still bummed out about the last game that, I guess, what's the game company that has the rights to Star Wars?
EA.
EA, yeah. I think it was them. Yeah, it was definitely them who was working on Star Wars 1313, which is going to be all about bounty hunters.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
And then, like, right in the middle of it, Disney bought them, and then they came out with Kinect, and they shut down 1313.
Oh.
And then we had, I feel like the first thing that Star Wars did, or that Disney did when they bought Star Wars, was make the Star Wars Kinect. You know?
What's the Star Wars Kinect?
It's like it's like the dancing with Han Solo. Han Solo. It's like the dumbest. As soon as they bought the rights to the IP, they just like shat on it. Straight up shat on it.
Here's what we'll do. This is a good idea.
Oh my God. As soon as they could, they just defaced it. They shut down this amazing game that was like in the middle of development.
Oh no, Lucas Arts.
The Chad Disney and the Virgin George Lucas. Oh my God. It's so sad. That's another thing Max and I have been talking about. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but Disney trying to reclaim all their old classics and in the process destroying them with all their live action remakes. The one that really got me, I was like mildly annoyed with them, but now they're doing that live action Nutcracker, and I'm like, just like, you gotta leave Tchaikovsky alone.
Poor Tchaikovsky. Tchaikovsky.
I know.
You know?
Really.
That's not even their material.
I know,
it's like
yeah.
110 years old or
Just do whatever they want. And I always, when I see even just the trailers, my mind can't stray from like the obvious notion that this whole thing was filmed in this giant like CGI warehouse. When they're outside, it doesn't look like outside. You know it's just a bunch of green screen.
Everything on the screen looks like if you reached out and tried to touch it, like there'd be nothing there. Like what was that Will Smith movie with M. Night Shyamalan that like they hid M. Night Shyamalan's name because they were so embarrassed that he directed it and they just billed it. It was some like
I don't know about that.
Like sci-fi futuristic thing with Will Smith, and every scene in that, like YMS, your movie sucks.
Was it the one he did with his son?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was like Earth Day 1 or something.
Yeah, YMS has a good review of that movie. And he says exactly that. Like it just looks like nothing's actually there, and it's a CGI warehouse, like green screen warehouse kind of deal. And I'm not against special effects categorically, but yeah, when your whole movie is like what they're doing now, high contrast, like a certain color palette that they have for like everything, CGI remake. Yeah. They're gonna do Aladdin, I think. They're doing Lion King. Oh, I can't wait for this movie. I was a kid and I saw it and I want to see it again. Come on, we can't keep seeing these things. We can't keep giving them money for it. The reason they keep making this crap is because like people are rewarding them by going to see it, and it's like it's easy to make because you don't have to hire new writers and come up with a new story and everything. You can just we've got the story already. We'll just remake it with new CGI, and so it's like an easy cash grab, and it sucks to be living through it right now.
It really does, yeah. And that Lion King trailer looks so bad to me. It just looked like a mess. I don't know.
I love the Lion King.
I love the Lion King too.
I think I commented on like the Lion King opening on like the Lefebvre's with the Lefebvre's channel before the new trailer came out. Like, I love this opening. It's the most impactful thing I've ever seen. I just love it so much.
Yeah.
And
then that.
If they ever remake the Iron Giant, if they ever try to remake it, I will make it my life's work to prevent that from happening. I will make a change.org petition.
And it's interesting because in a sense Disney has always taken other people's IP. Like they did, I mean, all that stuff in the beginning was like, wasn't it the Brothers Grimm stories that they kind of made kid friendly?
Yeah, and what I read was that like in the really early days of like Snow White and Sleeping Beauty, the stories were like conservative and medieval even for like the 1940s and 50s.
Oh wow!
Like it was even conservative for that time. Like the morals of like the totally helpless woman.
That's true.
And like the guy who cuts down that's cool though. I like those movies.
Yeah, and then they gotta make up for them in Wreck-It Ralph too. Don't you hate it when the prince saves you all the time? Oh my god!
Yeah, they've been playing like catch up for like the past 15 years.
Oh.
I got to meet Don Bluth. He lives here in Arizona, and he has a theater company, and he puts on plays and everything. Real smart guy, real sharp. Even though he's gotta be in his 80s.
Yeah.
He was an animator on Sleeping Beauty, 1959. He's been animating. He's animated for Disney, and he did
Anastasia. Right?
Anastasia, Land Before Time, The Secret of Nim. He was effectively Disney's only real competition for like a good amount of years with Fox Studios or whatever he was with. But yeah, think of like the power.
He's a totally gold standard for like what the old Disney was, you know, just brimming with like creativity and original ideas and like just tons of like great artistic craftsmanship. And now,
especially in the Disney Renaissance, starting with The Little Mermaid in what was the late 1980s or so, when they the Disney Renaissance was like when that new creativity was happening. Little Mermaid, you know, Aladdin, Hercules, I think was one of the sort of later end. I think we saw that in theaters in Colorado. We did. I remember that. So that was like the tail end of the Disney Renaissance, and that was like when they were just brimming with like every factor was in place somehow. Like they had good writers, good Alan Menken or whoever did the music.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they had a great composer on board. They had like the right people like signed off on all the good ideas and everything. Like everything just worked perfectly for a while, you know. And Pixar was like that for a while too.
Is Pixar Disney? I always forget.
Pixar's Disney, but it's like it's their own different studio.
Right.
And I remember watching a thing about a documentary on Pixar and how they had only had successes right before Cars 2 came out and became their first flop. And I was like, no.
I didn't like the first Cars. I was like, it's not a well thought out world. Like what's going on, and that's why there's all those stupid conspiracies like Cars is the post-apocalypse in the Pixar verse. Like, I don't care about that. It's just, I guess they're trying to make up for the fact that it was a bad idea, which is kind of nice that the fans are doing that. But I think it just wasn't well thought out.
I think did we see Cars 3 together?
Cars 3.
It was okay. That's the only Cars one I saw. Is the third one.
But it just depresses me. There's only Cars and that's it. I don't know. It's just weird. It's very off-putting.
If you like Cars, it's kind of paradise, isn't it?
That's the problem I had with Inside Out too. Inside Out was a great movie, but her brain was empty. You know, like when they went outside of the main the main control area, it was just this vast like nothing.
She only has emotions. She doesn't have like logic or anything.
There was like no one there. There was like two workers and then the fading away elephant.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
I remember. I kind of like this.
Okay. It was a good movie, but yeah, it was kind of eerie that there was nothing going on in their world, and that was their world, you know. So like their whole lives, it was just I don't know. It was weird.
You liked Up, right?
Up was great, yeah. Wall-E was great.
Wall-E was fantastic. Emmett was following the guy who did the music for Up. Emmett has been like following his career since before that, since like that video game, Medal of Honor video game.
Yeah. I first heard Giacchino when he did the music for Medal of Honor Frontline, and it was incredible. There's a mission when you're in a mining cart and you got to shoot guys. So usually, in games, as soon as you're in combat, there's just like the combat music, and when you're done, it just stops, right? But since you were in this whole level was just like a mining cart, and it went at a fixed speed, so we actually got to score the whole level.
Oh.
And it was like, and it was the first time I had an experience where it was like playing a movie, you know, because there were cues going along exactly with what was happening. And I remember replaying that mission like 10 times.
Wow.
It was the coolest thing to me.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so I think that's why it really stuck with me. It was just really well done. And I sent him an email. I was like, hey, I love your Medal of Honor OST when I was like, 9 or whatever.
Yeah. And he emailed you back, didn't he?
Yeah, he emailed me back. I forget what he said. But basically,
that's cool.
Yeah. Thanks. See ya. Yeah.
Thanks. Keep it up.
I did email him like a couple months before I think he scored Incredibles. And then, he took off.
That's wild, man.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned he scored that mining cart thing stuck out to you because you know what else he scored was Space Mountain, Disneyland.
Oh yeah.
It's no longer it's a Star Wars thing now, but he did the score for Space Mountain, which was
really good.
like a mining cart ride with a fixed ups and downs and everything. I remember I was like, that's so cool, and I wrote it a bunch of times. I had a very similar experience with my
That's
computer.
so cool.
I wrote it a bunch of times at Disneyland, and I went back and I listened to the track on YouTube and everything. I was like, this is fantastic.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, it was so good.
That's cool. Yeah.
The best mining cart racetrack train ride composer ever.
Oh man, that's so funny. It's such a specific thing.
I bet a Disney exec like saw that scene and was like, dude, we gotta have one for a ride or something.
It was really well done. Yeah.
That's so cool.
And it was that game was like Front Lines was like directed by Spielberg or something. So
Damn.
he did a good job making it like very, very cinematic.
Well, thank you guys for joining us tonight.
Yeah. We talked about a lot of stuff.
Talked about a lot of
Not
stuff.
to really connect.
I don't even know how to title this video now, which is fine. That's cool. We didn't even know what we were going to talk about when we came out here.
Backyard Talks.
Backyard Talks with Emmett and Max. Thank you guys.
Take care.
I'm getting out of here.